Hey there YouTube, it is a horrible, hot, muggy, sweaty, oppressive day. What's all this business with the hands? Jazz hands. Don't know what's going on there. I have very expressive hands today. I think that's because I had a mojito with my breakfast. That's really disgusting, isn't it? That was about 9:30 this morning. Mojitos at 9:30 in the morning. That is just appalling, really. What the fuck was this video going to be about? Oh yes, I am going to be reviewing today. I've got some subject matter, I've got some stuff that I've been trying to review for a while actually, but the video has never worked. It's one of those things, whenever I sit down to do a YouTube video, there has to be a particular X-factor-ish spark going on. Otherwise, I'm not interested. If it comes out dull or boring, I scrap it. There are so many projects I've done and I've promised on my channel where I've sat down to do it and the videos have turned out boring and shite. So, there go. What am I reviewing today? Today I am reviewing, by request actually, Beast Wars Transmetal Waspinator. This is a fucking lovely toy and a really good example of just how great Beast Wars became after like the initial wave, which were they're good, there's some really nice toys in that lot, but there's a distinct difference in quality. Hang on, let me grab one and show you. This guy will do. This is, I think he's called Power Pinch, I'm fairly certain. And as you can see, there is a profound difference in design, aesthetic, and overall toy quality between the two. This is one of the earlier Beast Wars toys, and it's got that sort of... They're lovely toys, they really are, but it's got that sort of plasticky thing going on. It looks very much like a toy. Which is fine. I mean, you know, most of the Generation 1 toys look very much like toys, as opposed to representations of a character or anything like that. It's absolutely fine. But the transmetals really move the line along. They're like a quantum leap in terms of quality. Okay, they have shitty half-arsed vehicle modes, but that really doesn't matter. The Beast and the Bot modes, for most of them, are fucking fantastic. And this guy, this is an exception. This is one of the few exceptions to that rule. His vehicle mode, wait till you fucking see it. It is one of the best transmetal vehicle modes you will ever see. And it's a very decent vehicle mode in its own right. Compared to other Transformers that only have vehicle modes, it's damn good. Right, what can you say about Waspinator? I reviewed his character before when I did animated Waspinator. He's a favourite character from Beast Wars because he is the hard luck guy. He is the character who gets shot to pieces in every single episode. He has died, or rather been next to obliterated in more ways than I think than any other Transformer in history, barring perhaps Optimus Prime. Optimus Prime dies a lot, despite being one of the purportedly one of the most powerful Transformers and Autobots and all of that jazz. He dies a lot. In fact, it's one of the standards of the Transformers continuity is that the Prime will die at one point. Always gets fucking resurrected, of course, which is fucking annoying. But hey ho. Yeah, Waspinator has been blown up, shot, shredded, eviscerated, dismembered, decapitated, melted, compressed, squashed. Basically any form of mutilation or damage that you can conceive of, it has happened to him. And you know what? You've got to love the guy because he unlike most of the other Predacons, Waspinator does demonstrate a certain degree of loyalty to Megatron. He does as he's told. He's not terribly smart, but he does do as he's told, and he's got a certain spirit behind him. You know, he's got, despite everything that happens to him, all of the pain and the hurt, he does have this gung-ho spirit until the very end of Beast Wars, where he decides, fuck it, I'm not doing it anymore, and he quits the Predacons. Quite right as well. Now this version of him, the Transmetal one, never appeared in the cartoon. He was stuck with his old body throughout. But there was an attempt to sort of shoehorn this into a continuity in the Beast Wars sourcebook, in the same way they attempted to shoehorn almost any extraneous toy they could think of into the continuity. This is in the Beast Wars cartoon, Waspinator is at one point possessed by the spark of Starscream. Generation 1 Starscream ends up in the Beast Wars and possesses Waspinator. He is eventually driven out and Waspinator regains his former personality. But this version, apparently, he comes from a universe where that didn't happen, where Starscream stayed, and therefore this guy contains the spark of both Starscream and Waspinator, and is far more durable, far more powerful and capable as a Predacon warrior. Which is kind of nice, I suppose. I like the idea of a Beast Wars Starscream. And I also like the idea that he inhabits the body of another Transformer. Now, as a toy, this is just beautiful. It's a sort of, like all the Transmetals, its technical components have been forced outward into the Beast mode, whereas the interior robot mode has more of the Beast-like qualities. That seems to be a thing they went for with the Transmetals. And it's so gorgeously detailed. Just look at all of that. Also, its Transmetal paint is of a better quality than any of the other Transmetals. It just doesn't flake. It really is good. His articulation is fantastic. All of his legs are multiple jointed. His mandibles are jointed. His wings all move independently. He's just awesome. And there is so little indication of the robot mode. Okay, you can see arms there, but that doesn't really matter. So little indication of the robot mode. It is a stunning Wasp mode. Like many of the Beast Wars toys that I've reviewed of late, slightly gender confused in that it has an obvious sting, and only female wasps have stings, because it is it's an organ derived from the ovipositor, which is the organ they use to lay their eggs. So, as if Waspinator doesn't have enough problems, he also now has to deal with gender confusion as well. Poor Waspinator. Right, onto his Transmetal vehicle mode, and I will not call it shitty or half-arsed like almost all of the others, because it just isn't. It's really lovely. And there we are. That is Transmetal Waspinator in his, what is for all intents and purposes, it's a classic Decepticon Seeker Jet. You can see why the writers chose this as a potential Beast Wars Starscream. It looks so much like the classic Seeker Jets, and it's really good. It's a brilliant Transmetal mode. In fact, it puts a lot of the jets from Generation 1 to fucking shame. If you compare this to some of like the Pretender jets or something like that, this just knocks them out of the sky. It's beautiful. Okay, it doesn't really clip together. There's no way for these wings to clip into the body, which would have been nice to give them some stability. And the legs, the Wasp mode legs, are kind of multiple choice. You can put them any which way, but you can position them like that and they look like guns. Also, the antennae are obvious guns as well. He even has a little cockpit and little jet boosters coming out of the back, just for added detail. This is how the Transmetal mode should have been done, ladies and gentlemen. This is what they should have been like across the board. It's beautiful, and I would love to see this repainted in Starscream's colours, just to have a proper Beast Wars Starscream. That would be absolutely lovely. Next to Transmetal Rampage's tank mode, definitely the best Transmetal vehicle mode. I wouldn't mind displaying him in this mode at all. I think he looks bloody gorgeous. Right, to his robot mode. And there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Transmetal Waspinator in his robot mode, and like all of the others, it's just lovely. Really nice. Excellent robot mode. It's well proportioned, it's got proper hands and feet, and also its head Its head is based on the original Waspinator, like all of the original Beast Wars toys, had a sort of redundant gimmick. It has two heads. It's got a battle mask head, which it was described in the instructions as a mutant head. All of the original Beast Wars toys have them, but they were never implemented in any of the fiction. In the cartoon, they actually used the mutant head as opposed to the robot head, which is much more classically like a Transformer robotic. With this, they went with the mutant head since it is much more reminiscent of the cartoon, and I'm so glad they did. Look at it, it's so lovely. Each of the eyes is separately sculpted and has, you can't see it on this camera, but it has, just like the compound eyes of insects, it has separate cells dotted throughout that are actually sculpted on rather than painted on. It's just absolutely beautiful. Okay, he does have, like all the Beast Wars toys, he has extraneous bits. He has the legs hanging off. No, not kibble. Sorry, they don't count as kibble at all. You can position them so they look fucking brilliant. And for me, these are machine gun turrets or something like that. That is certainly how they would have been implemented in the cartoon. And since, no, they have a use, it's not kibble. Also, the references to the Generation 1 Seekers, once again, is quite profound. Just like the Seekers, you've got the cockpit at the front. Actually, the cockpit is in an appropriate area. It's on his groin. It really is a proper cockpit. The wings coming off of the back, again, make him look very, very much like a Generation 1 Seeker. He's just beautiful in every particular. This is one of my favourite Beast Wars toys, which makes it one of my favourite toys, full stop. The only complaint I have about it is this. This is his weapon, it's his stinger, and you know what it looks like to me? It looks like a rectal thermometer. It doesn't look terribly... Well, I suppose it is threatening in one sense, but not in the way it should be. It is the very image of a rectal thermometer. They really should have reconsidered the design of that. I imagine originally it was a bit more pointy, but it was rounded off like all of the pointy edges on toys tend to be because of some fucking ridiculous health and safety concern. Well, yeah, there's his rectal thermometer weapon, which in the Beast Wars sourcebook is his null ray. So yes, he is armed like the original Starscream. In fact, in that universe, I can well imagine this guy posing something of a real threat to Beast Wars Megatron. He is bloody lovely. Great character. Everybody should own a Waspinator because he is one of the iconic characters from Beast Wars. And if you only get one, then this is the one to get. It's a stunning piece of work. Right, since I did Waspinator, I thought as a bonus I'd do his partner in crime as well. In the Beast Wars cartoon, Waspinator was usually seen alongside Pterosaur before Pterosaur bit the big one. They were they formed the sort of flyer team amongst the Predacons, very much like Starscream, Skywarp and Thundercracker did for the original Decepticons in the G1 cartoon. Now this is one of the very first things I ever reviewed on YouTube. This was one of the subjects of one of my very earliest videos. This is Transmetal Pterosaur. This is one of the very first Beast Wars toys I ever bought. I bought this directly after Transmetal Tarantulas. It's one of the very first Beast Wars I ever picked up. And again, it's a stunning piece. It really is fantastic. You get this toy in hand and you just start to realise how profoundly brilliant the Beast Wars toys were, and how lackluster many of the lines that have come after have been in comparison. I remember when Armada and Energon first came out, that's when the first time since I was a kid, I fell away from Transformers quite significantly. I still think, to a large degree, they are some of the weakest toy lines. Okay, there are some gems, like Energon Scorponok, and I love Armada Scavenger as well. I know people hate that mold. I think it's great. I love its walking gimmick. I love its colour scheme. I think it's brilliant. The only thing is it should have been a Decepticon. There are some gems in Armada and Energon, but for the most part, I think they look like Fisher-Price toys. I think they are really badly designed. And they don't do a damn thing for me. They are a massive step down from Beast Wars. Massive step down indeed. But yeah, this is Pterosaur. He's huge. for a deluxe. This thing came in a deluxe blister pack. I mean, look at the fucking wingspan on the thing. It's enormous. Really huge toy. Very good quality. And excellent value for money. Mine, it's so old that it's actually faded quite significantly. And one of his eyes are supposed to be red. This one still is red, but this one looks like he's got a cataract, or he's going blind in that one, which is actually quite a nice aesthetic. I'm not going to change that. I think it looks rather good. Now, Pterosaur is the Starscream. He very much is the Starscream of Beast Wars early on. He is a braggart. He is fully convinced of his own superiority and his fundamental right to lead the Predacons. And he's too, like Starscream, he's too proud to conceal it from Megatron. He makes no bones about the fact that he should be the leader. Unfortunately, unlike Starscream, he doesn't have the power, the intelligence, or the ability to carry it off. Starscream arguably could have done it. If he was just a little bit more subtle, he could have done it. And he does in several continuities. He actually manages to dethrone Megatron. This guy, the only way he does it in the Beast Wars cartoon is because in one episode he happens across a stash of mutated Energon, which makes him uber powerful. But even that, he doesn't even capitalize on that properly. He is not terribly clever. And not as capable as he likes to think. And towards the end of Season 1, he's actually killed when the quantum surge hits the Earth from the destruction of the alien device. He's knocked into lava and he dies. So we never get to see his transmetal form. Again, like Waspinator, the Beast Wars sourcebook kind of tries to shoehorn in his transmetal form into the continuity by saying that he didn't die when he was knocked into the lava. He was just frozen and sort of locked in stasis lock. And eventually managed to emerge. God knows when that happened. But anyway, that really doesn't matter. What matters is the toy, and the toy is spectacular. The original Pterosaur is one of my least favourite toys from Beast Wars. I think it's a fairly lazy piece of work. It looks utter shite in its Pterodactyl mode, and its robot mode is lackluster. This is an evolution to the nth degree. This is the quintessential Pterosaur for me, and it's just such a stunningly designed toy. The purple, you cannot see it on this camera, but the purple has shades of umber and of green running through it. You also have this wonderful dark brown it sifts into a sort of gold colour in parts. There are these variations in tone throughout, these little paint apps and details that are just gorgeous. And unlike the original Pterosaur, he is fully articulated. His neck goes, his beak goes, his wings go, his feet will move in all manner of ways. He's completely articulated. Even his talons are articulated, which is just great. Love that. Very, very lovely toy indeed. Now, unlike Waspinator, this guy's transmetal mode, I am happy to describe it as shitty and half-assed. In fact, I'm more than happy to describe it as arguably the most shitty and half-assed of the transmetal modes, with the possible exception of Transmetal Megatrons. I really hate that, and I'll be doing a video on that. I think that deserves a whole video in itself, and it will be like my Da Vinci Code review or my 2012 review. It will likely just be swearing. Yeah, this guy's is utter shite. You will see exactly what I mean when I get round to it. Yeah, that's it. That apparently, according to the instructions, that's another mode. Fuck off. That is a mode. Fuck right off. I mean, I could even take the Generation 1 Pretenders alt modes over that as a proper mode. It's not anything. It's just the Pterodactyl with its legs up and its arse opened. I mean, okay, inside the arse there is some really lovely detail. There are jet boosters and all manner of things, and it looks like if they put a bit more thought into it, this could have been really nice. The back end, it's got a lovely sexy arse, but it has a hideous, hideous front. So unless you want to put a bag over its head, yeah, this is not really a Predacon you would want to court. It's just horrible. Look at it. What the fuck were they going for with this? And what is this shit? Why bother? I mean, it actually looks less half-arsed if you do that, does it not? I think so. It's just an appallingly lazy piece of work, and you just wonder why they bothered. This would have been perfectly adequate with the pterodactyl in the robot mode, but this Hasbro, fuck right off. I just wonder what they were doing in the board meeting where they were handing this thing around, and it was like, oh, fuck it, yeah, that'll do. It's only for kids, isn't it? Not at this point, it wasn't, unfortunately. I mean, yeah, they are toys, but at this point, the adult collectors were in full swing. You know, these were going to be toys that were going to be criticised and picked apart with an adult eye, and fuck me, they are. You know what, even if they are just for kids, quote unquote, there's no excuse for that. Kids, I think most kids who bought this would say, yeah, that's a pile of shit. That, I imagine they just didn't even bother with that. I can see the scratched heads and the faces. Is that it? Is that it? Is that how it goes? Oh well. Anyway, that's the shitty half-arsed. Well, it literally is half-arsed mode that needs a facial makeover, definitely. Fortunately, all can be forgiven because its robot mode is spectacular. Et voila! Transmetal Predacon Pterosaur in his robot mode, and, well, what can I say? It does kind of speak for itself. All of the Transmetal robot modes are great. There's not a duff one amongst them. The original Transmetals, it's like they went to town on trying to make well-proportioned, coherent, and interesting-looking bots. A problem that a lot of people had with the original Beast Wars toys is that the bot modes, they tended to be compromised by a lot of kibble, and sometimes it was workable kibble and sometimes not so much. These guys, they're just brilliant. They're proportionate, they all have proper limbs, which is nice. They tend to have pretty interesting and distinct weapons, which are formed from anatomy from the beast mode, which is kind of nice. This guy has these fantastic hooked blades, which gives him the look of a really kick-ass melee warrior. He looks like he could go to town on Maximals in close combat. He also retains suggestions of the shoulder cannons that the original Pterosaur has. So no pushover in a firefight either. This Pterosaur, this version of Pterosaur, might just have given Megatron a run for his money if the upgrade enhanced his intelligence as well as his combat capabilities. Now these wings, you don't have to put them in his hands like this. You can actually leave them on the arms, and it looks just as good. He's a bloody stunning piece of work. All of the colours from the Pterosaur mode are carried through. The only thing I've done to this, because I didn't like it, was I've painted the Beast Mode face. The Beast Mode head has an almost chicken-like thing going on, what with the coxcomb and everything. And the original face is red, and I didn't like that, so I painted it gold. It actually looks a little bit better and makes it a bit more distinct, makes it stand out. It's nice. And once again, as with all the Transmetals, you can get this guy into some kick-ass poses. the Transmetals and I think the Transmetal 2s. The Transmetal 2s are a bit more various in terms of the way their body shapes work, and they're a bit more sort of mutated, which I rather like it. But they're more contentious. Let's say that they're more contentious as bots than the original Transmetals. The original Transmetals went out of their way to create these well-proportioned, anatomically intact robot modes, and they're all beautiful. The only one I kind of dislike, and I dislike quite a lot, is the Transmetal Optimus Primal. The original Transmetal Optimus Primal's pretty shocking, to be honest. It's pretty crap. I'll probably be doing a video on that at some point. But yeah, there's Pterosaur, and by God, he's one of those toys, looking at him isn't enough, you have to get it in hand just to appreciate how good it is.